Hello, everyone, and welcome to CX Confessions. My name is Christine Reimer, and I lead customer experience and customer advocacy at SurveyMonkey. And CX Confessions is our chance to have honest, real, authentic conversations with some of the best customer experience leaders in the world. And today I am so excited to welcome my very good friend, Cynthia Hester. Cynthia leads global customer programs at Google Cloud, and I am thrilled that she's here with us today. Welcome, Cynthia.
Good afternoon. I'm excited to be here.
I am so glad you're
All
here.
shelter in place and everything.
Exactly. So let's keep it real and start with, where in the world are you, and with whom are you sheltering in place?
So I'm in San Francisco, city by the bay, and I'm actually sheltering in place mostly by myself because I live alone. But I do have a pod buddy, one of my closest friends who lives over in Oakland, and we just happened to be together away for the weekend when we went shelter in place. So we came back and just decided, like, as long as it was just the two of us, we were good.
I love it.
So he is my shelter in place buddy, and I'm really grateful for it. I'll tell you that 4 months in.
Absolutely. I know. I think we're all figuring out how to navigate this, figure out how to do our jobs in this environment. And we'll get to that in a minute. So tell me first a bit about, I am assuming most folks watching today, regardless of where they are around the world, have heard of Google, but tell me a bit about how you fit into that Google ecosystem and your role.
That's a great question. So I sit in Google Cloud, and that is the cloud part of our business, obviously. Our key competitors, everybody knows who those two companies are. And my organization actually sits in marketing. So we support really customer engagement, customer programs with all of our marketing PMM counterparts. We work very closely with our sales organization, customer success, and also our field marketing cohorts. So we sit in marketing now, which is a little different, I think, from some customer marketing organizations. But I've worked at different companies, and it does switch occasionally and vary. So I've also been underneath product marketing and actually had it be under global programs, which was outside of marketing completely. But at Google Cloud, we actually sit under marketing.
Awesome. And Google Cloud, that's the fact that I use Google Docs and Google Sheets. It's all Google Slides. That is your world.
That is my world. So the world with Google Docs and Google Meet, all of that sits in our G Suite product area.
Okay.
And they are part of Google Cloud for sure. So if you think about the wider Alphabet organization, ads and Chrome's devices, YouTube, all are separate divisions, and Google Cloud is its own division as well.
Perfect. All right. Tell me a bit about when you joined Google Cloud, and then if you could kind of lead into, we began the year, and I am guessing you had these awesome plans, and you had a vision for what 2020 was going to look like. So let's just start there of when you thought about 2020, your plans for customer programs, the customer experience that you were designing.
So I joined in November of 2019 and hit the ground running, attended our Google Cloud event in London for our EMEA organization, and then headed back to the US. And lo and behold, in probably mid to late February, we started hearing rumblings, in early March there we were, shelter in place. At the time, our plan, our biggest focus at that point in time, was on our Q2 event in April, which was Google Next 20. And 40,000-ish people arrive in San Francisco, and we have an amazing event where we are sharing stories of success with our partners, with our customers. We're unveiling new products and solutions, and really giving our community a chance to just come talk to each other, share, updates, stories of success, best practices, all of the things you do at these types of events. And in March, that changed very quickly. And we originally thought that we might, because of course we could not see that it would be July and we would still be sheltering in place for the most part, and certainly working from home. And I think originally we thought, we might postpone, but we kind of still thought, we'll March till April. Within a couple of weeks, we realized that wasn't going to happen. So we took a step back and made the decision to postpone the event so we could look at a digital format, which we just launched on July 14th here in the US. And if you want to talk about like what that change meant, especially for my team in particular, because we are customer facing and we're working with some of our most strategic customers, and we have strategic co-marketing agreements and partnerships with them. And so this changed a lot of what we were planning to do, because first of all, we were going to do a lot of things at Next in San Francisco in April, which was going to be a face-to-face event, lots of different things for all of our community members, our advisory board members, our customers, and suddenly we're going to be in a digital event. And so between, I would say, April and now when we launched, we spent a lot of time kind of looking at what did this change mean for how we wanted to go to market, how we want to engage with our customers. One of the first things my team did was actually reach out to our strategic customers and one, just get a sense of where they were. How were they dealing with it? Because it all happened so fast. You know, I think here in California, we were the first to go shelter in place. And it's like on a Friday, you kind of heard some rumblings from the governor about what might happen. And then I believe it was Monday, like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they announced that midnight we would go shelter in place. And that meant businesses, schools, everybody was really going to be confined to their homes, which is very, very fast when you think about it, like no heads up at all. And because of that, that not only put us in a little bit of, kind of chaos. Okay, what are we doing? It did the same with our customers who are healthcare organizations, government agencies, financial institutions, retailers, small, medium, large enterprises, everybody really in the same position, which is the world has suddenly changed. And what are we going to do to kind of navigate and how do we kind of proceed with our business going forward? The first thing I'm glad to say that everybody really focused on was the humans. How is everybody doing? Are you safe? Are you healthy? Is your family safe? Are they healthy? Do you have everything you need? And so a lot of our touch base with our customers was less about doing the business side of our jobs and really more on the relationship and the partnership side of our jobs. And I think the feedback we heard was they appreciated that we reached out to ask if we could help. They appreciated us reaching out just to check in and see how they were doing. And we really pulled back on a lot of our marketing activities that we had planned because we realized this was definitely a different situation that we've never seen before. And if we internally were going through this as Google Cloud, we imagined that all the rest of our customers were as well. And they told us that when we reached out to talk to them. That was March. In June, probably after Memorial Day, we realized this is going to go on a little bit longer than everybody anticipated. So we did another follow-up and check-in with our customers. And some of them by now had kind of established a new normal. And so some of them were ready to actually start talking about, well, what can we do in this new environment? What makes sense? How can we do this together so it's helpful for our joint customers? Some customers were still really kind of, I would say, just dealing with some of the changes in terms of navigating, right? Like if you have a large organization, it is not an easy thing to have thousands of employees go from going into their office to working at home to looking at things like customer marketing, customer support from their perspective. And for a lot of retailers, especially our larger retail customers, their businesses, it was like Black Friday every day because people were ordering things online. How are you prepared logistically to handle all of that? So I really feel like a lot of the spring was for both for us and our customers, just really starting to figure out this, navigating this new world, especially because there were so many unknowns. We did not know and still don't, I feel, know, hey, when is this actually going to end or how much longer will we be in this state? So we can start making some decisions. And we did make the decision in April to move forward with a digital Next. So Next on Air kicked off July 14th, just a week ago, and to huge success. So we've seen really good registration. We pulled together the content. Customers were, we did a lot of filming and recording at home, and customers were patient and flexible. And, it was filled with some humor as well as humility, as you're like, shipping kits so they can actually do the recordings and going through dry runs and all of that normally we would have been doing face-to-face. And I have to say, I attended a few of them for some of our customers and went really, really smoothly. And it was really nice to see that people have gotten used to it. And I don't know, sometimes you feel a little bit more relaxed, I think, if you're at home, even though you're recording your session for, your online event, it just feels different because your physical environment is different.
Yeah. Now you hit on so many great elements that we're hearing consistently around the customer experience. And first, I just want to hit on the fact that to your point, you are in marketing, and more we see marketers thinking or running customer experience programs, because it's not just about, all the things you touched on. This isn't about just, marketing is no longer responsible just bringing folks in the door, right? You are thinking about, what's that experience? How are we building community? How are we in service of our customers and providing them the best practice and the connections so that they can thrive? And so I love where you started, and we hear this from others, is there's been so much lost in this phase, but it does kind of rip down to the very human elements that were in each other's bedrooms and homes. And you have to start from a place of empathy and connections and realness. So I love that you guys really started there with your customers, as you thought about, how are we in service of you, and who are you and how are you, and how do we connect?
Right. Yeah. I think for my team in particular, and probably for any customer-facing team, especially in a situation like this, you really are thinking about it from a very human aspect, because these are people you're talking to every day. I say to my team all the time, like, we're not talking to companies, we're talking to people.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we're doing is to make sure that they have a really great experience with Google Cloud and with Google. And so that does mean interacting, partnering with all of our other, I would say, cohorts. So customer success team, we have very tight collaboration. We have tight engagement and relationship models with our salespeople, because obviously we're kind of walking hand in hand with them as we talk to customers about their stories. What are they doing? Opportunities for both companies to do some co-marketing partnerships. But I will say that since COVID, I think we spend a little bit more time with some of the personal, which is really nice. And we're getting to see everybody's whole life. And we're all in the same situation for the most part. Obviously different home situations. I don't have any children, but I have colleagues who do. Yeah. And it's been eye-opening. And for me, I feel like I know them better. And when you're getting to know the people that you work with better, whether it's customers, partners, or your coworkers, I think that is always a win. I'm sure we all wish we were under very different circumstances, and we have really taken the time, I think, to just touch base with people to see how they're doing, and really build our relationship based on that, because we want to be here so we can help in any way that we can.
Absolutely. Cynthia and I are a part. We have a roundtable program, and the first time we got together as a group was in April. And we all started with, how are you personally doing, and how are you helping your employees and coworkers to be in service of our customers? And I'd say that group of our roundtable has gotten closer than I think we would have if we were in sort of a pre-COVID environment, because we know who's getting married. We know a lot more about each other. We're talking about real issues. We're talking about racial injustice as a group, which I don't think we would be doing in any other circumstance.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm grateful.
In fact, I think we were supposed to meet face-to-face in that first meeting. And because of shelter in place, it got changed almost immediately.
I'm so grateful for that group. All right, so now you touched on this event, and this event was to bring your customers together, and obviously the face-to-face and the community building. In Google Cloud, I'm assuming you probably have some really large customers, and you probably have a long tail of large customers to maybe smaller businesses. How do you? It's one of the things from when we use the term customer experience, as if it's only one experience, and often that varies based on who they are and working cross-functionally. So tell me a bit about how you think about providing a great experience to the large and then all the way down. How do you sort of think about that? How are you gathering feedback to make sure you're giving a great experience?
Right. I mean, one of the things I think that's really important around experience is consistency. So having a framework or a model that you use with every single customer, no matter how big or small they are. And with my team, we've got some core tenets about that, especially around storytelling, which is we want to understand the reason behind the decisions they're making, the direction they're taking their companies. And that is really uncovering the why. What's their purpose? Ultimately, they are also in service of their customers, their partners, their employees. And so we start there, no matter whether it's a SMB, a government agency, or a larger enterprise customer. And I think for me, I always talk about a 360. And for that, that means what's their sales experience like? What is their experience with all of our marketers? Whether that's digital, face-to-face, surveys, what's their experience in that space? What's their experience with support, customer success? And what's their experience with our team, who's responsible for helping bring a lot of those stories to light? And to me, I see those all as connected dots. Like we need all of that engagement to really understand and deliver on a really great experience. And if you can do that consistently, no matter who the customer is, whether how big or how small they are, I think in general, that is what gives you that brand loyalty. You start to develop advocates that way, because people then understand and experience you in very similar ways, no matter what their situation is.
Yep. And that consistency of, regardless of the touch points, regardless of how they interact with you, they are always that experience is consistent. Now you brought up something that I think, a lot of folks, when they think about customer experience, they think about addressing, the detractors or addressing the folks that are unhappy. And that is a critical part of a customer experience program, is fixing what is not great.
Yeah.
But you just mentioned a key part that I think a lot of customer experience leaders overlook, which is hopefully you do have happy customers who appreciate the experience, appreciate the value you've delivered. And one of the things, Cynthia, I know through your career that you have been really thoughtful about is fostering those relationships with happy customers and having them tell your story, be your advocate. Tell me a bit about why that's so important to you, or why customer experience leaders or marketers should be thinking about their happy customers just as much as they're thinking about their unhappy ones.
Right. I mean, for me, I love hearing what our customers are doing with the technology. So the technology is kind of just the start, but the real richness of the story and the thing that I get very excited about is what are they doing? Because some of our customers are doing groundbreaking work in the area of healthcare. They are making a difference, with charitable organizations in their communities. They are delivering products and services that are needed by so many people. And I'm always attracted to that part of the story. And if we do our jobs right, so if we show up as the best partners, we give them a platform to grow and achieve their goals, and we get to see that success. And so being part of a group and part of a team over several companies now, that like our whole job is to talk to that group of people. Like I think I have the best job in the company, is because I get to talk to all of our customers about what they're doing. And I just get to listen to their stories and then say, hey, would you like to share that story at our event? Would you like to share that story, as we get ready to do a co-event with one of our partners? And for me, that really is meaningful. And I also think too, if you think about what you said about doing it in service of your customers, focusing on your customers that are happy, to me, that just builds your future, because this is all about a journey and all about a relationship. I have customers that I've worked with 2 companies ago or 3 companies ago that I still know. I still follow them on LinkedIn. I know and see their success that they've been kind of charting. And so I can chime in and, ping them on LinkedIn and say, congratulations, or really glad to see you're in this great role. And I'm a people person, so that just really brings me joy in my job. And like, my dad said, like, if you're going to do it well, but have fun while you're doing it. Like, do something you really enjoy. And this, for me, like talking about to happy customers, nothing better. Would love to start and end my day that way every day.
I couldn't agree. And I love that you referenced your dad, because I remember my my dad's saying the same thing. I was pre-med and he's like, look, I will support you no matter what you do, but go get in that environment and see if it lights you up. It turned out the hospital environment wasn't what lit me up. But I love you sharing the advice from your dad.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, we are in the business of helping customers listen to their customers, listen to their employees, gather feedback from the people that matter most. And so my team also does all of our customer stories. And I couldn't agree with you more. There's nothing more fulfilling than being in service to a customer, helping them succeed, and then being able to amplify and celebrate them as being customer centric and celebrate their success. So I agree. So important.
Really is.
So tell me a bit about, so when you think about, one of the things that we know is folks, whether they're in the customer marketing or customer experience or customer success, measuring the impact of their program is so can be challenging. Sometimes we're just doing it because of course we know it's the right thing to do. Of course we know we want to bring customers into our marketing or understand their experience. How do you, when you're putting together your plans, do you have advice for folks on how to measure the impact or demonstrate the ROI of their programs? Because we all know that resourcing and budget, can be yep. very dependent on your ability to demonstrate the ROI of your program. So how do you do that, or any advice?
Right. Excuse me. So we definitely do it. And in our area, I think we have two opportunities in terms of how we measure the value of the program. One is on the sales side, because we do provide stories and customer evidence to help sales close their deals, help them accelerate their sales cycle. So that's one way I think we look at it. And that's in terms of we can't actually be attributed to the revenue, but we certainly can talk about the influence of the revenue based on the customers that are helping us share best practices and the success we're having with Google Cloud. And then on the other side, on the content and story amplification side of things, besides just looking at how many people you reach, we really want to understand how well is the content resonating. So one of the things we've been working on actually the last few months is taking a hard look at all of our content, especially the customer story content my team produces, and how well does that resonate with our audiences, with our business decision makers, our IT decision makers, because that again is another way you want to measure the success of the program. And third, to me, and most important, is what does that engagement relationship look like? So one of the reasons I always want to build a 360 is I want to be able to look at, like, say, excuse me, let's take, for example, this group of strategic customers that my team works with on a day-to-day basis. When I look at any of their profiles, I really do want to understand they're working with our team. So they're doing some storytelling. They may be doing advice, they may be participating in an advisory board. Somebody from their company may be part of their community. And that starts to really inform me about the level and strategic importance of that partnership. Because the more that you're doing with the customer, the more engagement touch points you have, the deeper that relationship is, because they're talking to more and more people in your organization. And that gives you multiple opportunities to deliver a good experience, to really step up in terms of being in service of them. And I think that is really, really important. It's even more important as we all sit at home, because we have fewer opportunities to kind of have some of those face-to-face conversations. And so you have to make the most of the online engagement that you have with them. And, I know, like, even if I think about going into 2021, we haven't started doing our work on what programs, but I know that the ability to not be face-to-face is going to have an impact on what we think we decide to do for next year. And I think we'll have an opportunity to do some really new and exciting things. I don't have a crystal ball, know exactly what those are yet, but I think also with every situation that pops up, there's always the consequences, and then there's always the opportunity. And I think hopefully this fall, we'll get a chance, all of us, to start looking at what are the opportunities we can find in 2021.
I totally agree. And I hear folks talking about, and other customer experience, customer marketers talking about the fact that, again, while the challenges bring chances to innovate, can accelerate things like the importance of the digital experience, making sure you're listening across that digital experience, making sure you're making it easy for people to do business with you, thinking about balancing acquiring new customers with really thinking about retaining and providing a great experience for your current customers in this environment, and customers who, depending on their industry, are navigating this pandemic differently, and then really thinking about being agile in their responses. So I'm with you. I think I'm nervous about 2021 planning, but I'm also kind of excited of then what can we do again to be in service and help our customers succeed through this.
Right. Yeah. Like I would agree. And I'm looking forward to kind of just having those conversations with customers and with my team. Because one of the things it gives us an opportunity to do is to go back and ask them, what are their plans for 2021? How will they be engaging with their customers? And, I think sometimes through sharing what each of us is doing, out of that can really come some really innovative ideas about how to engage.
I couldn't agree more. I think I just like you, I get so much energy from talking, and I'm always like, gosh, great point. I learn from through the conversations and gathering that feedback of how others are handling it. I see we're coming up on time. What advice, so there's many that watch the CX Confession series. There's folks that are super experienced, and then there's folks who are newer in the space who turn to this series to get advice. What advice would you have on folks who are thinking about customer marketing or customer experience? What advice would you have for them?
First, if you're curious and you're curious about what people are doing with technology or what they're doing with products and services, then you're probably in the right place, because you have the opportunity to ask as many questions of as many different customer and people as you possibly can engage with. So one of the things I would say is that maybe even double down on the level of engagement you're having with customers and your partners today, because that's where the key learnings are going to come from. That's where you're going to be able to actually grow and foster deeper relationships with those customers and with those partners. So definitely, I would say engage and ask questions, listen. It's really hard to listen if you're talking. And I say that because as you manage events and advisory boards and community meetings, I always remind people, it's like, we're there to listen. And because out of that listening, that's where our gold is. We will, if we're unsure about something, talk to your customers, because they will always be honest with you and give you the feedback that you need to actually understand, is this the right decision or is it not? And I would say, and have fun with it. I'm a true believer. You've got to have fun. You have to be doing this because you love talking to customers. You want to hear about what they're doing, and you're genuinely concerned and want to put them first and make all of your decisions be driven from that perspective.
Those are wise words to leave with the group, and being in the business of helping people gather feedback and listen to the people that matter most to their business. I couldn't agree more. I think whenever I'm in doubt in my career, or struggling with a decision, anchoring on listening and gathering that feedback and talking to your customers, it's never steered me wrong. So very wise advice. Cynthia, thank you so much for taking time to have this conversation, to share your wisdom with folks. It has been so fun. And folks, if you haven't shared where you're dialing in from, we love seeing the global presence that these conversations have inspired. So thank you. Any feedback, please let us know. We're happy to engage. But with that, Cynthia, have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining us at CX Confessions.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Awesome. Have a great day. Bye, everyone. Thanks for dialing in.